Therapy! That's my initial reaction to hearing that word. As somebody who needs it. Yeah, I said that on camera, so I can't take it back. What happens in therapy? Do I need a therapist? Who needs therapy? How much does therapy cost? But at the very beginning, it is, how do I get a therapist? And it just so happens that I have been avoiding this task, similarly to probably many of you watching this. And so today's video is going to be, how do I get a therapist? Because even though it should be simple, it really isn't. And this video only affirmed that for me. But lucky for you, I did all the reading for you. And I think that we boiled it down to steps that are manageable. Speaking of appointments I'm avoiding, the dentist is calling me. It's okay, one step of self-care at a time. Don't know if I want the whole world knowing. I haven't got my teeth clean in probably too long. Anyways, what I'm going to give you is a starting point, a baseline that is probably the same pretty much across the board, even though there are variances, obviously province to province, city to city, scenario to scenario. Let me give you enough to get started. I'm gonna call my insurance. Okay, gonna go do that off camera. No. No. Did you think I could just do that? Did you think, hi, can I have a therapist? You're gonna wanna call and ask these same questions that I'm about to go through. Quick tangent. Therapist or counselor, those are usually grouped together. Psychiatrist and a psychologist. Let's get the difference between those three clear now. A therapist or a counselor are trained to help people with everyday mental health struggles, anxiety or depression if they're not too extreme, grief. This is the type of person that when I say everyone could benefit from seeing a counselor or a therapist, this is your pick here. Because these are also, in terms of pricing, gonna be the cheapest in terms of like medical training. Moving on one tier up is psychologists. Psychologists typically hold a PhD in clinical psychology. They can do everything that a therapist can do, as well as they're qualified to diagnose people. The third tier is psychiatrists. And this one has the biggest difference between the other two because they have a medical degree, meaning that they can prescribe medication. Back to insurance. Does our insurance cover a psychologist? If not, don't just hang up. No. You can always ask if they can make an exception. So for example, maybe covers psychiatrists, but they don't cover just a counselor. And I could say a session with a counselor is actually cheaper than a session with a psychiatrist. Would you make an exception and allow me to use that money to cover a counselor session? The next thing you want to ask is how much am I covered for? And then they're going to tell you how many sessions or how many dollars you have access to. Some other kind of like specific questions, like what is the max amount per session I'm allowed? So if your therapist has a private rate and it's too much, you might need to find a different therapist. Does the insurance company bill your therapist directly, or do you have to pay upfront and then get reimbursed? So just overviewing, you call your insurance company. Do you cover the service that I want? If not, would you make an exception? And then how much am I covered for? I am going to call my insurance. Technically, it's not my insurance, so they're gonna be like, you are a child. Did you steal your mother's phone? What are you doing? I'm scared. Hey, I'm scared. Okay, going.
Press 4 for serialization inquiries.
Okay, I got scared again. Still haven't called the insurance. But we'll get there. Again, this is me showing the candid process that, you know, maybe everything will take a few tries, but that's okay. Be patient with yourself. Taking this first step is still a step in the right direction, even if it's not a perfect process. So the next step is finding a therapist. So since I've got my glass of wine and my roommate's on her way home, we're gonna do this as like a thing together. How Gen Z is that? Our favorite pastime is looking for a therapist. Let's start looking. So for me, I would prefer to have a woman just because That's what I'm most comfortable with. And ideally, a person of color. This is personal to me. This is just because if I ever want to talk about my race, my experiences with racism, I feel safer. Obviously, like having a queer therapist would be cool. Again, those add to the layers of inaccessibility. It feels like the more things you want to ask for, the harder it is going to be to find therapists near me. Oh, see, this woman looks nice. Okay, so she just said she's not taking any new clients. Oh, they have really bad reviews. I don't know if this is really what I'm looking for. Okay, no, just kidding, we're not doing them because they don't have a website. Do a little research. Oh, sorry, I just got a little wave of like realizing that I'm actually doing this. I'm not just like, oh, this is just for the video. This isn't clickbait. I'm truly going to therapy. Description is really throwing me off, so I feel like, no. Oh, wow. Okay, wait. Okay, wait, we might have a winner. See. She has a note at the bottom. Offer my services from within an anti-racism and anti-oppression framework. Snaps to you, Miss Therapist I will not name. It's starting to get a little bit more difficult. Oh. Every time I have to fill out these forms, I get so nervous. She spoke to me. Love to see it. This resonated. Okay. Submitting. I'm gonna email her right now. Message. So I'm gonna say, hi, my name is Emma. I'm a 19-year-old student. I'm gonna give her a little bit of my background, my history with mental illness. If you don't, know anything of your history in professional terms, then, just say how you're feeling. Say what you'd like to talk about. And if you don't know, you don't have to say any of that. The main thing I'm gonna ask is, what is your rate per session? And when is your soonest availability? Sorry. That wasn't scripted, I actually just fell over. Okay, we're moving. This is so weird doing this in real time because it's like, okay, step 2. Let's say that one's checked for now. Hello. Last time we spoke, I had just emailed a therapist. I went on and continued to email multiple therapists. They were actually really quick responding. The ones where I just did a form and I just said I was interested in a psychologist and I couldn't actually see which one I was gonna get. Both of those people have a receptionist consultation with her, and then she recommends a psychologist that would fit my situation the best. Those both are gonna involve a phone meeting I have to do before I actually go in. I'm getting a little bit worn out. I don't wanna say defeating process because I'm still doing it, but again, now you can watch this and you can be fully prepared for the multiple steps that are coming your way. I mean, objectively, this isn't that difficult. Everyone's being very clear and straightforward and polite and friendly. And I'll tell you who I'm choosing and we'll go to that consultation and then I will vlog the aftermath. What you do while you wait. If it's severe enough that you feel like you can't wait, then obviously steps need to be taken. Once you're in crisis, the standards and such change. In this video, a large part of it, my hope, is to kind of destigmatize the process of seeking help and making it normal to talk about. Once we cross over into more severe territory, I know that there's even less dialogue. If you're in crisis, I know that crisis lines and hotlines and stuff like that is an uncomfortable thought. I totally get that, but I'm speaking from personal experience as I've used them before. It's better than nothing. If it's your first therapy session, it's totally okay to just go. I think just getting yourself to go is a huge feat in the first place. I'm somebody who the act of going to therapy is actually very anxiety provoking for me. It makes me so anxious thinking about going, having to go, and I know that's very, very common. And so some things that might help are to write down a list. What have you been feeling lately? If you have topics, if you've done therapy before and there's things that you know that you want to speak about, write those down so that you don't forget, because I know another anxious thing is having a bad memory and forgetting everything you wanted to say the moment you want to say it. Writing those things down, that's not weird. They won't think it's weird. They probably appreciate it. Writing down any questions, especially if it's your first session, any questions you might have for them, any goals you have that you want to meet, being able to work through X thing, you know, being able to apply for X job or whatever it may be. If you have any goals like that you want to share with them, any concerns you might have. If you're somebody who would prefer to be guided in terms of like you want them to prompt you and you want them to ask you lots of questions. But then on the flip side, some people are more comfortable with guiding themselves. And obviously their job is to advise you. Like that's their whole point, is to give advice and to help you. But that doesn't mean necessarily if you're more comfortable with saying like, here's what I want to talk about, then say that. Taking notes in your session, that's another thing. They wouldn't think that was weird. We're asking them to keep notes as they go. I used to request if they could give me a list at the end of like the thoughts we'd gone over, because you know, it's usually an hour-long session, so by the end of the hour, you might forget what they said at the beginning. But high five for today. We did some stuff today. Good job. Good job, folks. Good job. Good morning, or I guess good afternoon. Today is the day. Sorry, I'm just running around. I look a mess because I'm trying to get ready to go. We finally got here. We finally are actually going to see the therapist. Things are happening. What should I bring? What should you bring to your first therapy session? I'm gonna bring my health card, bring some sort of ID. This is the free consult, so I don't think I'll be paying anything today. But if you were gonna do that, in the past how it's happened is I pay and then you get a receipt, and then that receipt goes to your insurance company to reimburse you. You know what, I think I will make a little list of things, maybe even in my phone to myself, that I want to bring up when she's asking what I want to talk about. Again, that's not something you have to do. Make sure to pick an appointment time where you have at least like half an hour afterwards, because you know, I found that the post-therapy time is almost important as the therapy itself, because you're gonna be feeling some type of way maybe. Not a bad way, it's just there's gonna be lots of thinking to do. And maybe you'll be emotional or something. I know I usually am. So yeah, I think those are the rest of my tips. I think I'm just stalling now because I have to go. Okay, let's go to therapy. As you can tell, it's nighttime now. Finished my consultation. I was planning on vlogging right after to kind of recap how that went, but talked about that post-therapy, kind of like you time, and I wasn't really in the mood to take out my camera. I'm gonna walk through everything that happened just because I feel like the more detail I recap it in, the more ready or comfortable, I guess, somebody who's never been to therapy would feel. I went up into the office and there's usually like a waiting room of some sort. The place I used to go to had a front desk, and so that's where I thought I might need to say, you know, I have an appointment with blank, or that's when they might ask for an ID or a health card. And they didn't ask for either of those things. It might just be because it was just a consultation. Enter, and then there's like separate rooms for each of the therapists. And she just came out and I recognized her from her picture. It was like cozy and she had like a couch and stuff. And the first thing she asked me was, how are you? How do you feel about being here today? I just answered honestly, which is the best thing you can do. She kind of just asked me why I stopped seeing my old therapist, what brought me there, if anything in specific had brought me there. She'd ask me questions based on what I had said. There were questions where I didn't know, and I'd just be like, I'm not sure. It's not like a test. I'd say like a certain way I was feeling, and then it'd be like, can you think of something from your past that might have caused that? And it's kind of like, I don't know. Try to lean into it if possible. And then she kind of moved on to say, okay, now I'm gonna tell you a bit about me and how I work. Her approach is, she said that she likes seeing people once a week. She told me her rate and said that she gives receipts monthly for me to give to my insurance to get reimbursed if that is the case. And then she said, so where do you feel that you're at now? Would you like to book another appointment? She did do a note about confidentiality. We kind of ended our session and she was like, it's nice to meet you. And then I got up and I left. Overall, a very, I wouldn't say enjoyable, because it's not like, and I mean therapy could be fun, I think, but it's also a lot of work, if that makes sense. You're working through things when it feels like work. That's what therapy is in a nutshell, is them asking you questions, you talking, and hopefully feeling better at the end of it.